Hey there, partner. I was just taking a nap. I was offline. But since now you're here, I suppose I should review this book that I've been enjoying called Question and Answer a Day for Writers 365 for Creative Exploration, a 1-year journal. And if you are wondering what the hell I'm wearing, I'm wearing a dress. And now that I think of it, a dress with a tiara and pearls and whatever this thing is. So yes, I feel like being extra today, so I'm going to be extra. So this book I think is amazing, whether you are writing or, doing anything really creative at all. This can be a great source of inspiration. So we have 365 questions that you can incorporate into your creativity. And you can use this even, nothing to do with creativity. The questions are fun just to answer for yourself, to answer with friends or family, to ask on your online communities. So basically there's a question here in this corner. So it's fairly small, as you can see. And then there is a series of lines that you can write in. If you're the type of person who don't want to have a wardrobe malfunction, if you're the type of person who doesn't like to write in books, I have a very good friend who, I thought this was actually going to be quite cozy and simple. I thought it would be even easier than clothes. So far, not the case. I'm going to choose, I think, maybe 10 of these to give you an idea if you would like to purchase or pass on this book. So we'll go to today's date. And the prompt is, how do people sometimes misunderstand or misinterpret you? That's a great question, whether you want to answer it for your own enjoyment, for your own self-reflection, to start a conversation with your family or friends or online community. I know for myself, obviously, you can tell just by looking at me, I'm probably at least sometimes misunderstood. So obviously when you come out online wearing a freaking tiara, a blanket, and the accessories, you're making this statement. And while some people will appreciate your statement of, I like to have fun, I don't like to take things that don't need to be taken too seriously. If it's not a really serious matter, if it's not something that really requires me to be serious, I don't really see the problem in having some fun, making something that can be otherwise a little tedious and mundane, like sitting in front of a computer screen, basically talking to yourself, right? I mean, when you're filming, that's kind of what it feels like, at least in that moment, before it's uploaded and conversation can start happening. So, and some people are going to misunderstand that. I know someone in a chat today, when I had mentioned I was going to film like this, was like, wow, that's kind of racy. And I'm like, not really. Not really. This is not to be sexy or provocative. It's to be comfortable. It's to have some fun. It's to make use of some of these props that I have for photography. And the thing is, when you put yourself out there and you don't confine yourself to the box that sometimes people want you to live in, you're going to have people who misunderstand you. It's actually one of the first things I mention in my book is that if you dare to step into the spotlight, if you dare to put yourself out there, whether it's creatively or otherwise, more than likely, you're going to get some unsolicited opinions, and they're not always going to be favorable. And then there'll be people who misunderstand you but are open to conversation, to getting to know you. And then you have people who are just committed to seeing you in a negative light and are not at all open to hearing your perspective, and that's okay. So a time machine drops you into the passenger seat of a silver Porsche speeding down a road. You notice the dash looks vintage, and then you notice the driver, James Dean. He turns his head and smiles at you while shifting into high gear. What do you do next? So that can go any which direction. You can obviously change James Dean for whoever would be a surprise to see sitting next to you. And this can be anything. Are you speeding because you're outrunning the police from some crazy heist or something? Are you speeding because you're trying to impress, like he's trying to impress you? Like, there are so many questions and so many directions that this can open up. So third question. Walking along a deserted street, you notice writing carved into the cement. What does it say? So the fourth one says, what would you most like to dream about tonight? Foretell your dream here. So you could write a short story or even an entire novel based off of a dream that maybe you've never even had, but you would thoroughly enjoy having. And again, this can go anywhere from romantic to sci-fi, to mystery. I mean, if you're open-minded, you can get multiple stories from one prompt. To me, that makes this book very valuable. And if you can believe it, I got it for $3 at Barnes & Noble. So Liar, Liar, Pants on Fire. The prompt is, in a few sentences, describe the most dishonest person you know or have known. That can make for some interesting writing, I would say. So let's do a few more. Perhaps you were woken up from sleep, injured, or jet lagged in a foreign country. How can you translate this experience into a more dramatic one? So that can be very interesting. I mean, jet lagged, that gives you an opportunity to talk about where your character was, where are they now, why are they traveling so much that they're jet lagged? Do they make a major mistake because they're so tired? Do they have to pass up on a date with someone they're very interested in, and now their friend goes out with the person instead? And in the end, the person ends up marrying the friend instead of the original character. Who knows? It's been a very long day, so I'm sorry if I can't come up with more like thrilling examples. But hopefully that gives you, some ideas to start running with. It could even be where the person is disoriented by news they just were told. Some kind of shocking news, whether it's really great news or tragic news. It could be that they're disoriented and they're on the highway, they take the wrong exit, and they end up meeting someone that they otherwise never would have met, who ends up doing something bad to them or becoming their soulmate, whatever. So there's just so many places to take this one prompt. So you can imagine how much you can do if you sift through and look for the ones that really call to you, because these are only just a handful. So D.H. Lawrence once said, I like to write when I feel spiteful. It's like having a good sneeze. Write about a time you felt spiteful. I can certainly think of a particular time that would make for an interesting story if I wanted to delve into it. And I'm sure you must have a time or two that you can conjure up to use for inspiration. In honor of May, the month we celebrate mothers, write a scene in which your mother is a child. So you could write about your own mother. If for whatever reason you don't want to write about your mom, you could write about someone else's mom. You could write about a fictional mother from a movie like Mommy Dearest or a TV show. You could just make one up. So maybe you have a main character and, you think about what would her mother be like when her mother was her age or younger. I think it can be a very interesting thing to do with characters, especially when you're writing, is to think about who they were as a child, assuming that they're, an adult in the book. Who were they as a child? What did they want to be? What did they go through? What helped shape them? These things don't have to be written into the book, but it can help you develop your character to feel more like a real person. So I'll do a few more. I think by now you pretty much get the picture, whether or not this is a book of interest or not. Recall a memorable birthday celebration, yours or someone else's. What was at the heart of making it great? Now, to me, it doesn't have to be great, just interesting. Maybe it was terrible, but interesting. I'd rather hear a story about someone's birthday that everything went wrong that was interesting than a story where it was just, oh, it was the best birthday ever, just for the usual reasons. My loved ones were there. I got gifts. The cake was great. Okay, that's great, but it's not interesting. So for me, for example, on my 16th birthday, I got into a big argument with my mother and stepfather and ended up leaving the house and slept at the park for the night, which was incredibly stupid and incredibly dangerous. But here I am. So, thankfully I made it obviously through the night. However, I could write about that. I could write about the argument. I could write about how upset I was and how disappointed I was. And instead of having like this sweet 16, okay, this is making a lot of noise in my ear. I don't know if you can hear it, so I'm going to take it off. So, and I could write about either what actually happened, or I can make it more dramatized. Instead of just sleeping the night in the park, being pissed off and upset, going home the next day and just continuing the argument, which I could have just stayed home to do, I can make it where something does happen. And it could be something tragic. It could be something scary, but not tragic. It could be something romantic. Maybe this is where I meet my boyfriend. We become high school sweethearts and go on to have a family. And 30 years later, we're still married and we run the town, whatever, coffee shop. There's so many places you could take that. It could be where something, God forbid, had happened. Let's say to my stepfather, he's already passed, so I'm not, maybe we got into this argument. Now I leave and I come back in the morning still pissed off and, yeah, who do you think you are? Only to find out he's passed away in the middle of the night or something like that. So again, it's like an octopus. These ideas are like an octopus. It's like you have the idea itself, and then you have all these different arms, all these different branches, or like a tree, that they can branch out to different directions and completely change the course of the story based off of small decisions like, the night at the park. Am I going to write it so something tragic happens? Am I going to write it so something romantic happens? One decision kind of changes the whole course, but it's beautiful because one idea can birth so many other ideas, so many storylines. So this is getting long, so I'm just going to do one more. So this is a fun one for, people like me who like purple prose. Very flowery, kind of unnecessary sometimes ways of putting things that just sound more poetic or more dramatic. Some people would think it's melodrama or, whatever. It's fine. Some people like it. Some people don't. But this is your chance to describe something ordinary around you with purple prose, with that kind of poetic, not rambling, but that just poetic way of describing something where it is maybe a little dramatic. So basically the last one says, let out some purple prose, an overly florid description of anything. So take a look around you pick up something or choose something and use purple prose, kind of poetic, over dramatic sometimes, ways of describing something. So, like your tears wouldn't just fall. They would flow down your cheeks like rivers through a forest, something like that. I love it. I don't care. I love it. I know some people hate purple prose, and I agree there's a time and a place, and not every piece of writing is right for purple prose, but I also appreciate when I find it in the right places. So that was it. That was the book Question and Answers, A Day for Writers. 365 questions for creative exploration. Would you purchase or pass? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your final say on this. I would recommend it. And yeah, as you can see, it's getting quite warm in front of this bright light that's like 2 feet from my face is starting to feel like a tanning bed. That is it. I hope you enjoy this installment of Purchase or Pass. Thank you for being part of the Coffee Create Connect channel, where we inspire, uplift, and motivate each other. Until next time, thank you and take care.